Back to order.
Okay, welcome to the Queen Anne's County Commissioners meeting. This is a public meeting that is being aired live on our local cable television station, QACTV 7. This meeting is also being streamed live over the internet at www.qac.org/live. These media broadcasts provide county citizens an opportunity to watch and review our scheduled public sessions. We acknowledge your participation, and by attending, you acknowledge that this session is both recorded and aired. The scheduled agenda is available on the information table just outside of the meeting room. Press and public comment will be taken and is limited to 3 minutes. If you care to speak, you must sign the sheet on the information table outside. Comments longer than 3 minutes can be submitted in writing for the Commissioner's review. During the meeting, we would ask that you turn off all electronic devices and hold personal conversations outside of the meeting room. We will now stand and be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Commission President Jim Moran.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you could please remain standing for a moment of silence for all those who've lost their lives since our last meeting, and that hopefully this country will one day respect life no matter whose it is. Thank you very much.
Okay, Commissioners, we had a brief closed session for administrative boards and commissions. We discussed appointing board members to the Social Services Advisory Board, the Employee Awards Committee, and the Spending Affordability Committee. So could we talk about the Social Services Advisory Board appointments first? Yes. Can I get a motion on that?
You want to read the names?
I can, sure.
I don't.
Motion to appoint, Michael Murphy, I should know, Michael Myers,
Right.
Michael Murphy, and Pastor Mark Farnell.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Okay, next we had the Employee Awards Committee appointment. We had 2 vacancies there.
Jack.
Oh, me again?
Why not?
I didn't have that one pulled up.
They were tab 5.
Yeah, I got it.
It was
Make a motion to reappoint Dave Crow and appoint Shane Moore. I have a question about the character of that character, Shane Moore. Is he here to defend his character?
You got to get a second before we can
Okay.
take up any questions.
To a 2-year term on the Employee Awards Committee to begin immediately at the end December to end December 31st, 2020. Is Mr. Moore here?
Second, there you go.
We have a motion. Second. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you, Commissioners. And we have last, the Spending Affordability Committee, 1 vacancy and 1 applicant.
I propose that
My
we
one,
nominate Joe Zimmerman to that board.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. Thank you very much.
Can we get a character reference on this, Mr. Moore?
We certainly can. He'll be in front of you briefly. Okay, the agenda for today's meeting, August 13th, 2019, along with the regular minutes and the Sanitary Commission minutes from your July 23rd Commissioners meeting, were distributed electronically for your review. We also had closed session minutes from the July 23rd Commissioners meeting. Do we have any corrections or additions?
Motion to approve as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? There we go.
Okay, thank you. Minutes approved. That brings us to our first press and public comment section. Thank you for taking the time to express your views to the County Commissioners during this public comment period. Comments are limited to 3 minutes in length. Comments longer than 3 minutes should be submitted in writing. When you come forward, please speak clearly in the standing microphone. State your name, address, and topic of interest. Keeping with the dignity of the office, we ask that all views be expressed in a respectful and civil manner. This commission respects your desire and right to convey your message freely. We ask as a courtesy to the board and our citizens that you respect the Commissioner's request to refrain from naming citizens and name-calling when offering any critique.
Mary Margaret, you're first on the list.
Okay, may I go to the screen instead?
Sure, absolutely. Mike, do you need to take the microphone with her? Mary Margaret, can you grab the mic, take it with you? Just so if you're gonna. There we go.
Duck my time from that.
No worries. No worries.
We haven't started it yet.
Okay, we are underway with our grant at Bloomfield. So I want to show you what we're going to be doing. Unfortunately, this was originally a door into the basement. And we don't know the date at which somebody decided that it was time to close it up and fill in the stairs. And this lintel, which is 14 feet long, which should have been brought all the way to the corner. So in 2008, when the earthquake came, there was no support on this corner whatsoever. And consequently, you see a lot of the crack all the way down from upstairs. All of this had been covered over with stucco. So our first step is putting steel plates in here to support the upper part while we work on this, and we will be going all the way up to the second floor window in this project. And it's just above that window where we took out a massive beehive. And nobody was willing to work with the bees there. So their hole was actually in the face of one of the workers. So we are required by the state to match everything and the windows, to take them out and redo these windows, not replace them. And they have been very specific about everything that we're using to work on the windows. But all of this will be completely repaired. And I'm sad to say, but maybe I shouldn't be, that Portland cement was used here to try to stabilize this portion of the building, but we are required to use the original mortar, which is a lime-based mortar, and therefore we have to finish by October in order that we meet the frost, because lime-based mortar will not cure at frost.
Mary Margaret, just for those who are watching on TV and some in the audience that might not know what this building is going to be used for, would you like to?
Well, at some point, it will become the Maryland Museum of Women's History. I think we're a little ways away from that right now.
But this is a historic site?
It is a historic site, and unbeknownst to me, the state discovered it was actually eligible for the National Register as well, which it's not on now. It's only on the state. But it will now have to be, as part of getting this grant, we have to apply for the National Register.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That should be cheap and easy.
It is. Linda Friday, Queen Anne's County Chamber of Commerce.
We got some matching.
Good evening, gentlemen. Linda Friday with the Queen Anne's County Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for allowing us to come before you tonight. Just a couple of things that I want to share with you. First of all, I'd like to thank you for supporting Queen Anne's County Teacher of the Year, Heather Elfin. She's a Centerville teacher here in our little town. She's a music teacher, so we just want to thank you for your support of the Teacher of the Year. We will be recognizing her at our event in September. Also, that's an event that we also invite all of our new teachers to attend and participate. It's just an opportunity for the business community to meet our educators, which we're very thankful and grateful for. So thank you again for your support and all that you do for our educators. Also, just want to briefly talk about QAC Goes Purple. Hopefully, some of you have seen information about that event. The Chamber is managing that program this year. Our kickoff is going to be on September the 5th. And it's going to be from 7:30 to 9 at the Kennel Volunteer Fire Department. I would encourage you to spread the word. I've got some bracelets for you to hand out. I know Commissioner Corgarino, you have a couple children. We'd love for you to take some bracelets home to them. And Commissioner
What was
Duna.
the time on September 5th?
It's from 7:30 to 9.
Okay, thank you.
For the first 100 people, they will get a free T-shirt. So we are, encouraging people to come out. If you didn't come last year, I would highly encourage you to come this year. It was very touching, and I know Commissioner Moran was kind of the leader in that. And I really want to appreciate all your support in that program. But anyway, so it's going to be the kickoff is going to be on September the 5th again, from 7:30 to 9 at the Canal Volunteer Fire Department. Just come, and it's free and open to the public. The other thing I wanted to share is, and I'm sure Commissioner Jack Wilson will probably talk about this a little bit during his time that he can talk at the end, is the Project Bright Future. We have a Project Bright Future, which is going to be held on September 25th. It's just given our students an opportunity to look at career paths versus college or college readiness. It just gives them an opportunity of what they can look at and what job opportunities are out there in different career paths. Also, I'm sure Commissioner Wilson will share about the House Bill 513, and that's really where we started with this, was the House bill that was not moved on to the Senate, and it sat in committee. So anyway, we are going to have that on, again, September 25th from 6:30 to 8. It's going to be at Chesapeake College. It's free, open to the public. We would like to have parents, students, business community, elected officials, anyone that would like to come. We would like to have everyone come and just see what's available. The other thing that we have going on is in September, the first Wednesday in September, we're doing a Success in 60. It's in the business park, and we are going to be going to Tech Ops. If you've never been to Tech Ops, I would encourage you to go out and visit that business. Just a great opportunity. If it has wheels, they can build it. So, and that's their, it should be their slogan, but I don't know what it is. But anyway, I would encourage you to come out. Again, it's the first Wednesday in September, and it starts at 8:30 in the morning, and you don't have to RSVP. Just come to the business park and come to their location. That's all I have, and I want to give you this information.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will say that the Queen Anne's County Goes Purple, this is our second year. It's sponsored by Queen Anne's County Drug-Free Coalition. They're the same people that put the signs up around the county, and the new signs went up today. The 2 new numbers went up today. Thank God there's no increase on deaths, but we're at 51 overdoses and 8 deaths for the year, which is down from last year, and we hope we're trending in the right direction. With that being said, Lisa, is it, what's your last name?
Schrader.
Schrader, okay, I'm sorry.
I emailed and mailed you guys a copy of this letter that I would like to read just to get it on the record. My name is Lisa Palminteri Schrader. My family and I have been Queen Anne's County residents for more than 100 years. We have lived and worked in the county for just as long. I own a farm located at 651 Ingleside Road, Ingleside, Maryland. In an attempt to begin the estate planning for my family, we began to research various income options for that the property could generate. In doing so, we found that the property was rich in sand and gravel, and after a very detailed study, we were approached by a local sand and gravel company that was willing to mine the property, which in turn would provide a steady income stream for my family and I for many years. As we began to do our due diligence on the property, it was revealed when in 2006 my late husband and I sold the development rights on approximately 130 acres of the farm. At that time we sold the rights, it was unknown that the farm was rich in sand and gravel, and we sold them under the impression that it was only designed to limit sprawl development. As we began to look into options for the encumbered land, we found that major extractions for mining were prohibited. Minor extractions, however, that are less than 5 acres are permitted. While the concept of selling the development rights is to limit development and maintain the agricultural nature of the area, prohibiting the ability to access local minerals that will support the local economy does not necessarily align with the state's goals to preserve a landowner's ability to utilize their farms to the best and highest use. Mining in itself eliminates the ability to build homes. It also indirectly creates a large pond that would be able to support the surrounding farms from an irrigation standpoint, while the tillable ground is reduced and the impacts to the surrounding farms are negligible. And in some cases, having access to a pond for irrigation will increase the yields and allow the surrounding farms to diversify their crop rotation. It will also increase the variety of local wildlife and allow environmental diversity for the property. Additionally, the mining itself will consume approximately 5 to 7 acres per year, which will leave the bulk of the existing tillable ground to continue as tillable ground for many years to come. At this point in time, I am simply asking for the ability to provide my family for the future. As you are all aware, the income generated from farming cannot support the investment made into purchasing a farm. We worked tirelessly to purchase and then hold on to this farm for more than 21 years, and we have never missed a tax bill to Queen Anne's County. My late husband sold these development rights in an attempt to ease the burden on his family, knowing that he was diagnosed with terminal cancer and his time was limited. I am requesting that you give me the opportunity to discuss this situation with you at one of your upcoming meetings. I am only looking to ensure that I can provide for my family for years to come. I understand that this puts the commissioners in a tough position, and we are willing to be creative with the relocation of this easement or any other options that may be available. Thank you for your time and consideration. And I have copies of these, and I have copies of the form.
Okay. Okay. Next, we're going to bring up the plastic-free Queen Anne's County representative. Oh, no.
She might have signed the wrong sheet then. Maybe she meant to speak during the hearing. Okay.
No, we don't have any hearing for plastic today.
No, if she was on the board.
No, no.
Maybe she was speaking for the balloon. We'll see.
Are you speaking on the balloon issue or something? Oh, okay, well, we're going to have a hearing for that? So, okay, so that's, thank you. So that's the last person who signed up to speak. Would anybody else like to speak? Seeing none, we'll close the press and public comment.
All right, Commissioners, next we have the Department of Public Works. So I see Mr. Shane Moore, Awards Committee Chairman.
The Shane.
And Mr. Alan Quimby from the Sanitary, Public Works Director, former Sanitary Commission, and Chief Engineer. So first we have the, if you want to convene as the Roads Board.
Move that we convene as roads.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. There we go. Fire away.
Good evening, Commissioners. The first item is the Bennett Point Speed Limit Review and Update. Included in your packet is a very beautiful map created by our IT department, which shows the red and green zones from our 2004 speed limit change. Basically, in 2004, we did a speed audit of Bennett Point Road, and we lowered the speed limit in 2 zones. If you refer to the map, the first zone is that we lowered is C. That was lowered from 50 to 35. The second zone was Zone D, which was lowered from 35 to 30. Immediately after that was changed, we had some opposition from the Bennett Point community, which would be Zone D, to have that speed limit raised. So at that time, in 2005, the commissioners directed us to send all of our data and findings to State Highway District 2, who reviewed our package, and they concurred with our methodology and findings about how we proceeded with the safety audit and how we came to the conclusions of lowering it. As a courtesy, they offered to do what is called an 85th percentile radar study. And basically that radar study takes all the data collected from all the cars traveling north and south in a certain area. And it basically says whatever the 85th percentile is the speed limit. That's not looking at any geometry, that's not looking at any number of residence entrances or anything like that. Based on that, the findings showed that the 85th percentile in 2006 was 50 miles an hour with an average speed of approximately 44 miles an hour. That information was presented to the commissioners and no action was taken at that time. State Highway did indicate that any changes to that 35 mile an hour zone, because of the number of school bus stops we had in that area, there's a lot of residents that live there, we'd have to put up some new signage for that to give some aware to the motorists about school bus stops.
And I've seen some there. I mean, I've seen some signs that indicate
Yes.
watch for buses.
Yes.
Why does State Highway have any recommendations or jurisdictions over a county road?
The residents in Zone D wanted the speed limit raised back up. So since we sent it to the state on request of the commissioners to have them review how we did the study to make sure we did it
So
correctly.
they were responding to your, okay.
Yes. So just a little history with Zone C. At that time in 2004, the reason the initial speed limit audit was initiated was we had an accident there, a serious accident, and we had a lot of input from the Board of Education because of aggressive driving with school bus stops. A lot of school buses were being passed. So fast forward to 2018, we were again asked to look at the speed limit study in that area. We did another 85th percentile, and we came up with basically the same conclusions. So those were also presented at the Roads Board meeting, and no action was taken at that time.
Hold on a second, Shane. Mike, do you have the ability do you have a copy of this map that you can put up on so people can see? It should be on the web, right? I think that's, Jack, it came in your email? Just so the public can see what we're talking about.
It's interesting, the statistics show that the average southbound speed was
You want mine?
slower than the northbound speed. So I guess people
Home faster than me.
people weren't excited about getting home, but they were in a hurry to get to work.
To get out?
So basically, with Section C, geometrically, as you can see, it's a long straightaway. It's very easy to go 50 miles an hour. However, the logic behind lowering it back in 2004 was the number of residents, the number of school bus stops, and the number of intersecting roads and farm lanes in that area. That is a consideration when adjusting the speed limit. So based on State Highway's input in 2006 of the 85th percentile, posting it at 40 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour, or even 50 miles an hour is acceptable by their logic.
Okay.
So what the study...
But are we talking about D, or right now we're talking about just...
C. We've never reevaluated D, only C.
Okay, so D is not in question, D is gonna stay at 30. It's not been an issue with the residents down there.
No, they have not
Okay, so
complained
we're not
about their
even
speed
gonna
limit.
discuss that one. So C is what you're talking about, moving from 35 to either 45 or 50.
40 or 45, I would not
Okay.
recommend going to 50.
Okay.
It's one other slight issue, which is kind of an odd issue in that area of C, with all the residents that live on the west side of Bennett Point Road, their mailboxes have to be on the east side.
Correct.
So they have to cross over every day to get their mail, especially in the area between Greenwood Creek, Shoal. That area has quite a bit of residences and have to cross the road and school bus stops. So I would not recommend going to 50. Now, that said, I have never had a request from anybody that lived in Section C to raise their own speed limit. Only the residents of Area D want their C raised.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So what about B?
B is geometrically should be driven at 35
So there's no
Curves.
discussion of changing
Because
that?
it curves.
because of
there.
curves.
So that starts right after the general store, right? And then,
Yes. Once you get past Perry's Corner down pretty much to the general store, it's too curvy to raise the speed limit there. So the area in question would be approximately near Sarah's Forest and then south down to Y Ferry is the area in question right now.
Okay.
And Shane, did you want to mention too, with our road resurfacing program, you made some improvements to Bennett Point Road, making it, the section and
Yes.
it is much smoother
Yes.
than it was back in '04.
Because in '04, none of Bennett Point was paved.
Was paved, it was all tar and chip, and it was
Correct.
a little
It
out of
was out of
section
section,
and bumpy.
yes. So it was a little bit more wavier and yeah,
So
so it is.
that's improved the driving
Yes.
conditions considerably.
Yeah, and we did reach out to both the Sheriff's Office and the Board of Ed for any concerns they have with this area. The Sheriff's Office simply stated that they will enforce whatever speed limits posted. The Board of Education indicated that their school bus drivers in this area felt that 40 miles an hour was appropriate, now that the road's paved.
And Shane, I'm sorry, what is B? What's the current speed on B?
35.
35.
Yes.
So, and the southern part in Section D, they're not requesting any increase in speed?
No.
It's interesting because it's 30 now, and they want a more densely populated area increased to 40, but they don't want, when I say they, the folks that are making the most noise, about the speed limit are the folks that are way down at the end and the daunting 35-mile-an-hour speed to get all the way up to the general store. So it seems, unless I'm missing this, but their own section where they live, they want to stay 30. But the section that's more densely populated, where bus stops and pickups and stuff are, they want that raised to 40. Am I getting that right?
They have not requested a certain speed, they've just indicated they want it raised higher.
How many bus stops are there in that section of C?
In that particular section, I could not get the Board of Ed, I could not get addresses from them.
I mean, they don't stop at every residence, right? There's every so many that.
Well, if there's no sidewalks, every cross street they will.
They will, yeah.
Yep.
There's 11 elementary schools, 6 middle school, and 14 high school eligible school bus stops on Bennett Point Road itself, on the whole distance.
The whole Bennett Point.
The whole, yes.
So, again, are we sure that this Zone D that's currently 30, they don't want increased? I thought they wanted it up 40,
so did I.
all the way up to the general stores, is how I understood it in speaking to the representatives that had brought this back up to the attention of the commissioners. So maybe what we need to do is
Leave it open to hear
leave it
from
open
them.
for a couple of weeks and find out, get some feedback from them as to
Now-
exactly what they're requesting. There was a tremendous amount of signatures. I mean, I looked at a sheet that had well over 125 signatures of folks requesting that the speed limit be brought back up to 40 from 35.
In Area D, which is the Bennett Point community, we actually have design drawings for that. And the design speed was 40 miles an hour. But typically, you posted 10 miles an hour below the speed, below the design speed. That's
Design
why it
speed.
went from 35 to 30.
Okay.
When we evaluated the entire road and looked at everything, that was part of that conclusion. We had an actual design speed on record, therefore you posted 10 miles an hour
Okay.
lower. Certainly, it could be adjusted.
Is that design speed that goes back from when the development was first?
Yes.
set up? Okay.
Okay.
What was your original design speed for C then?
There was no design speed. That was not, that was just an existing road for the years
Okay.
that went by, so.
Okay, so what we're gonna do with this is, we're gonna leave that open, take some, public comment, do a little research on section D, and come back at our next meeting about section C. So if anybody's here that wants to speak at the meeting next time, sign up and please do. All right?
Very good.
And
Shane,
moving on.
thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's all we have for the roads board, so we have 2 items for the sanitary commission, so.
Convene the sanitary? Make
I
a
move
motion.
that we convene the sanitary.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, there we go.
All right, Commissioners, we had 2 items under sanitary. The first one is to consider the execution of the public works agreement for SHA Grasonville LLC, otherwise known as Queenstown Assisted Living. If you recall, you granted them allocation at the last meeting, and they've executed. They agreed that the deposit would be non-refundable, and they've executed the public works agreement.
Can I get a motion?
Move to execute the public works agreement with SHA Graceville LLC to allow for the construction of a 79-bed assisted living facility.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, any discussion?
I had an opportunity to sit down with one of the gentlemen who was proposing this project several months ago, and had an opportunity to take a look at some of the other assisted living facilities that they have built and managed in other locations. And they are amazing. And I know that this is one of the underserved needs that we have in the community, especially with the anticipated increase in our aging population by 2025. So I think we're blessed to have them choose our county to put this in here, especially at that location, staying consistent with the medical campus theme that we have there on Nesbitt Road. That's it.
Very good. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion to execute the public works agreement with SHA Grasonville LLC to allow for the construction of a 79-bed assisted living facility. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
The second item, the last item on the sanitary district's agenda, excuse me, is a request for water and sewer allocation for the Perry's Retreat subdivision. This was originally given allocation in February 2015. They came back through, you may recall, the last commission wanted to increase the number of lots to 156. They were granted the additional water and sewer allocation at that time, but they failed to place the 10% deposit, so the allocation was rescinded. Now they've come back and asked for it a second time. The cost would be, so the total allocation they wanted was 7,000 gallons of sewer allocation and 39,000 gallons of water allocation for the entire 156 lots. And the total cost would be just over $1 million. And they acknowledge that if granted, the 10% deposit is non-refundable.
Do we know who the builder is?
Need a motion.
Oh,
I move to grant an additional 7,000 gallons per day of sewer allocation and 39,000 gallons per day of water allocation to Elm Street Development's proposed 156 dwelling subdivision at a cost of $1,001,600, for which a 10% non-refundable deposit will be required within 30 calendar days.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Do we know who the builder is for this project?
Elm Street is a developer.
Right.
They typically flip the lots to a builder, and I don't know who they have in mind.
Okay. So at this point, we don't know who's going to be the home builder itself.
I'm just, why is it only 7,000 gallons of sewer and 39 of water?
When they originally got the allocation, we, being the sanitary district, said that they had to upgrade Grasonville water treatment plant at their expense rather than sell them the allocation outright.
Okay.
But we since rethought that decision. We really don't want a third party in our water plants, and particularly one that has to be kept operational the entire time. So we reverse our position in that regard. So we just want to sell them the water allocation as opposed to relying on them to upgrade the plant.
But I guess I'm confused that they're using 39,000 gallons per day of water, but only 7,000
But
gallons.
they already got the other sewer allocation a few
Okay.
years ago.
Thank you. So their whole total is, so that brings them up to 39 on both sides?
Correct.
I got
They got
you.
128 sewer, I think in 2015, and
Okay.
0 water.
Okay. So, but which one did they bail on then, that they didn't give you the deposit?
The extra 28 sewer allocations and the total 156 water allocations.
Okay,
So they have 0 water allocation right now.
That's correct.
right. And this buys them the water. Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion to grant an additional 7,000 gallons per day of sewer allocation and 39,000 gallons per day of water allocation to Elm Street Development's proposed 156 dwelling subdivision at a cost of $1,001,600, for which a 10% non-refundable deposit will be required within 30 calendar days. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all we have from Public Works, unless you had any questions for these gentlemen.
Do I got any? You can't think of any? Okay.
Okay, we can move on to presentation of documents and signatures. Weekly correspondence, if you want to turn to tab number 3. We've got 10 items to cover. The first one is certification for Cooperative Local State Library Aid Programs for fiscal 2020. And this is a annual certification form to document our local library contribution matches for FY 2020.
Certification for cooperative local state library aid programs for FY 2020.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
The next item is item number 2. Actually, items 2 and 3, I'm going to ask Mike Wisnowski and Amy Mordock to come up and join us. The first item on item 2 is Town of Barclay Resolution 19-01, annexation of the lands of DeMoss and Siemens, and a waiver request.
And this is the 5-year waiver request.
Yes. Good
Mike,
afternoon.
and
Good
Amy,
evening,
can you-
Commissioners. Mike Wisnowski, Director of Planning and Zoning. To my right is Amy Mordock. I'd like to introduce Amy as our new Principal Planner. She brings a wealth of knowledge to Queen Anne's County. I feel very blessed to have her on my team. She's the former Director of Planning and Zoning in Kent County, and she brings a wealth of knowledge on comprehensive planning, critical area management, and text and map amendments, and just, again, very pleased to have her on our team.
Welcome aboard.
So with that introduction, I will turn it over to Amy for this Barclay annexation memorandum.
Hello. What you have before you this evening are 2 items. One of them is an annexation proposal from the town of Barclay. They're looking to annex approximately 83 acres into their zoning boundaries, into their town boundaries. The land currently is zoned agricultural, and they're looking to reclassify 3 of those parcels to an industrial classification and the other a residential. They have proceeded with their review process in accordance with the 30-day notice to neighboring jurisdictions. However, we are unable to accommodate that schedule because of the county's public notice and review requirements. So what you have is a letter that the town attorney has requested that we submit in lieu of having a recommendation and a decision on their annexation proposal in time for their public hearing. So their public hearing is going to be held on the 21st of August. And so for us to take this proposal through its paces, it will be around the middle or to the end of September before we can get comments to them. They understand that and will proceed with their public hearing. Note that the county will follow soon after, and they'll go back for a vote on their annexation when they receive the county's comments. So what's before you is their proposal and also their request for a waiver of the 5-year hold on zoning. This land has been amended into the town's municipal growth element. So this matter should be largely administrative in terms of going through Planning Commission review for consistency findings with the comprehensive plan and the ordinance, and then will be brought back to you for your recommendation, for your vote on the waiver, basically.
Okay. Okay. Any questions, Commissioners? This would go to the Planning Commission as the next step.
Correct, but we need to make the motion.
Yes.
I'll make the motion. I move to forward the Town of Berkeley Resolution 1901 to the Planning Commission for findings of comprehensive plan and zoning consistency and grant for a waiver of the 5-year hold on current zoning to execute and send a letter to the Town of Berkeley outlining the county review process and timeline.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Now we need some discussion. So to the public, what this is, these two pieces of property in Berkeley want to hook up to the new sewer that's going to Berkeley, hopefully. And they can't hook up to that sewer unless they're in the town limits of Berkeley. And one of them is a major business, and it's good for the economy, it's good for the environment, and it's good for everybody all around because it helps pay for that sewage treatment plant that Subdivision has, but they have to be annexed. And in order to annex and be able to hook up to that sewer, you have to give the 5-year waiver, the same 5-year waiver that Queenstown tried to do and didn't make it, but this hopefully will make it so that this can move along rather quickly. So I'm all in favor of this. Any other discussion?
That was a great explanation of what's going on.
Thank you. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Item number 3 on page 19 is our resiliency planning and financing for Maryland counties and the Queen Anne's County Work Group charge. And I think Amy's going to present this one as well.
Sure. And this was last before you in July, and now it's time for the action to occur. So this is the Resiliency Planning and Financing Group, and the county has agreed to participate along with 3 other Maryland counties. So this is a pilot program where we are asked to form a local work group to convene and start to strategize and prioritize local resiliency efforts. What I'm asking for you to do is to review the list of work group members that have been selected and suggested for your approval, and also to look over the charge and the timeline for this committee's work. It's a pretty quick turnaround that is expected by the state in terms of compiling a local plan, and what the ultimate goal is that all of the 4 jurisdictions will generate their own local resiliency plans that prioritize strategies that can be enacted, hopefully in accordance with a cost analysis in terms of which projects are more readily fundable.
The type of projects we're talking about?
Type of projects are projects that I think will make Queen Anne's County, will push Queen Anne's County a little farther ahead and won't make this timeline so onerous, because Queen Anne's has already adopted a resiliency and vulnerability plan, and has a pretty proactive hazard mitigation plan. So those plans those actions that have already been identified, that would include more restrictive stormwater measures, more restrictive floodplain measures, some improvements to culvert pipe sizing. So things of these nature where the county has already identified where the most costly impacts are occurring. Some of those strategies are already identified. So I'm hoping that with the group of individuals that we've pulled together for the committee, who have all worked to draft those standing plans like the hazard plan and the resiliency vulnerability study, I'm hoping that they will be able to better inform which of these projects should move to the top of the list.
I guess what I'm looking for is this is a group that's going to be put together to make recommendations, not so much policy.
Correct.
Right.
And then costs?
So the costs...
Those will be or won't be determined?
No.
Okay.
I think the idea is that bringing the 4 counties together, we'll be able to get a better sense of what a cost analysis would look like. And then there's a future phase to this plan development that includes a true financing analysis of how this plan can be implemented. So when we get to that phase of the future financial planning, Jonathan Seaman has agreed to assist our committee to better understand and better focus.
Mrs. Murdoch, who are the other 3 counties in addition to us?
So the other 3 counties are Charles County, Anne Arundel, and Baltimore County.
It's an odd collection.
So how does this dovetail into the existing MS4 permitting process? Does any of this commingle with that in terms of looking at it from a planning standpoint in terms of the stormwater management?
I'm not sure.
And I don't think it'll dovetail with that, but it could provide some opportunities for us to do projects that would help
Be able to transfer that?
transfer to the credits on the MS4 permit.
Okay, so we could see some long-term benefits in terms of easing some of the pain of the costs up on the islands.
We certainly could, and this will put us in line for future grant opportunities for resiliency projects like stormwater and floodplain projects and repetitive loss properties. We have a couple up North County we're purchasing to take them out of the development proposal. They're going to be turned over to the Parks Department for a future landing.
We're trying
to.
And
We've got one, yeah.
There are no costs involved with
No
this
costs.
part of the process. It's just staff time.
Just trying to see where the end game is going. So that
And just one more question. The names that are on the list, the folks that were selected, how was that? How were they vetted? How were they chosen?
They were selected because of their participation in drafting other plans
But
that are directly
And that
related.
list is for you to consider. I mean, that's a list that staff came up with of individuals. We haven't contacted them because, of course, we wanted your consent before we did that. So
Okay.
we wanted you to review that and see if you agree with that list.
Okay.
Well, the motion is to approve that list.
Correct. Well, we could also hold it, but I don't know how much,
You can hold it.
we could hold it till the next meeting if there's somebody that,
I was just thinking maybe since this is the first we've seen of it is in this document here for this week, is to maybe go back and see if there's anybody we think may also benefit or be a benefit to be on there, much like we do with the comprehensive plan. We look at a much broader group, so.
You can?
Sure, you can do that.
so we'll go ahead and hold that one till our next meeting. And let everybody do what they feel
So
they need.
do we have to make a motion?
No,
to
we'll
hold
just,
it? No?
we'll just table it.
Okay.
We'll just
Table
table
it.
it. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
That's it?
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Amy. I want to
Painless.
thank both Mike and Amy for taking this on. It's going to be a fun project, and it's an interesting assignment for them.
Especially if you got to go to Baltimore for this. You get to cross that bridge.
They're coming here.
Oh, they're not going to get home then.
Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's right. All right, Commissioners, item number 4 on page 23 is a commercial real property tax credit request from Riker Kent Island LLC, and this is a request for a commercial real property tax credit for the project known as Dogwood Acres Pet Retreat on the property owned by them in our Mattapique Business Park on Sunny Shores Boulevard. And they are proposing to create 15 new full-time jobs within 36 months of opening, which exceeds the minimum of 12, and the project is estimated to value of $3 million, exceeding the minimum property value increase of $25,000. So they are eligible for this 5-year credit, and they've made that request. And Jean Fabi's here if you have any specific questions about that. She has recommended that we support this request.
A motion to approve the request for commercial real property tax credit for the project known as Dogwood Acres Pet Retreat on property owned by Reichert Kent Island LLC at 1220 Sunny Schultz Boulevard, Stevensville, Maryland, with the condition that the project results in the creation of at least 12 new full-time positions within 36 months of completion.
And at least 100 happy dogs.
Jimmy, you're going to second it?
I'll second it.
Thank you. We have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item number 5 is a pricing for subscription to Office 365. This is a bid for approval to purchase a subscription-based model for Microsoft Office and cloud-based email for county workstations. And there is funding available in our county IT infrastructure project, and I believe Megan is here from IT, and Derek, if you have any questions about.
I move to
this
approve the
software.
recommendation of county IT staff to move to email in the cloud and subscription-based model for Microsoft Office, using funds from the county IT infrastructure project for FY20 and then operating funds for FY21 onwards.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I think we had
Does this have extra security associated with it by moving it to the cloud?
Microsoft would provide some security, but we also will continue to use our same spam filter that we currently use, so we would continue to go in that direction with that. But this is a transition for us into a subscription-based model. Yes, into current times, so that everybody will be on the same Office suite, and then we'll have everybody using their Exchange and their Outlook from the mail or from the cloud. So this is all new to us, and there's going to be some growing pains, but we're hoping that everybody's going to be able to get
So
through
we
it.
won't be saving then emails on our servers, they'll be saved in the cloud. So there's redundancy in all of that. That's redundancy that's actually outside the county in case there's ever any catastrophe that hit.
Exactly.
At least our emails will live on
Right.
forever.
PIA purposes. For PIA purposes.
Right, for PIA purposes, right.
And we'll have a lot more storage than we currently have available to us by moving there.
Okay. So the emails, attachments, all that stuff would get
Yes,
saved.
they would all be in the cloud. Right.
Are we using Office 2019 now?
A few people are. As we've upgraded some computers, we've added it onto a few, but not many. We're trying to hold that. We're waiting for this decision to be made before we did a big push for.
You're waiting for what?
For this decision to be made.
Okay.
Before we did a big push for everybody. It's really just kind of been, we have a few people in 2016, we have a few people in 2013.
Are you trying to get everybody on the same year so everything gets flipped at the same time?
Yes, yeah.
It's not
and
even
then
a year anymore.
People don't have.
What's that?
Office.
365 is not a year anymore, that's just the cloud-based, so
Right, and
there's
then
no
we-
years.
But
It
the operating-
automatically updates itself, you never have to do it again, basically.
But it is based on the 2019
Right.
version.
Really?
So
The
it does-
functions are, yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well,
So, but the interface is, so if you're used to a different version, several steps
That is
back,
correct.
there's going to be a while to get used to.
Yes, there will be,
that.
that's where the growing pains are going to happen, and there will be some authentication that has to take place. I know that as part of this, there is dual authentication is available, so, or multi-factor, so we're going to be looking at that and see how we can take advantage of that to make it a little bit more secure for everyone. So that also will be a growing pain because not everybody has a phone to get a code on, to be able to add that in as they log into different things. And
well, you know, if I can't get to that Outlook, Margie and Linda aren't going to be happy with
we
all the
might,
paper they're going to
yeah,
have
we
to be
might have to
printing for
exempt
me.
you from that somehow, so.
There'll be a Microsoft Authenticator app you can put on your phone and you just hit approve.
Very good.
Yes.
Okay.
You think he'll be able to just hit.
Exactly.
If not, he'll be over there.
I'll say, Linda, hit that
That's
button, will
right,
you?
take care of that.
We hope.
Does anybody else have any questions, comments? All right. Seeing none,
Jason will continue to see me every couple of months, that's
That's
fine.
right.
there you go. We're voting to approve the recommendation of county IT staff to move to email in the cloud in a subscription-based model for Microsoft Office using funds from the county IT infrastructure project for FY20, then operating funds for FY21 onward. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you all. Okay, item 6 on page 33 is a Board of Education request for approval of transfer between major state categories, and our Board of Education folks are here.
This isn't to fix that musical equipment from last night, is it?
2 nights in a row.
I don't think there's any fixing that.
Good evening, County Commissioners, Mr. Todd, Mr. Mohn. For the record, Greg Plusky, Deputy Superintendent, on behalf of Dr. Kane, our Superintendent, and my colleague.
John Pfister, Chief Financial Officer, here to present the request for a categorical transfer. This is wrapping up our end of the year, making sure all of our state mandated categories are in a positive balance. So what we're asking for is a request to transfer $162,500 out of operation of plant due to some electricity and heat savings, and putting that in our instructional salaries for some teacher overages, pupil services for some mileage reimbursements, and then in our health services category to handle an overage that we had in nurse substitutes in our health category. So I ask for your approval on that and be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I move to approve the Board of Education request to transfer major categories from operation of plant to instructional salaries, pupil services, and health services for the period ending June 30, 2019.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Anybody have any discussion? This is basically, we met with them earlier this afternoon, but this is when they're talking about the instructional salaries and the lower than anticipated salary attrition. What that means is teachers retiring that are making a large amount of money, and then they bring teachers that aren't making as much. Normally they have a baseline that they use to calculate how much they think they're going to be saving. Well, this year they didn't save that
They
much.
hit that mark,
They
correct.
didn't make that mark. So this is the transfer so that their books end up at zero at the end of 2019, and that's what this is all about. So seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
All right, thank you very much. The second one before you is a request. This one's a little bit different. This is a request for appropriation authority. It's not a request for any dollars. In our grant budget, our restricted budget, we budget a certain amount of money for all the anticipated grants. And normally there is some flexibility that some of our grants aren't fully expended. Well, we got a literacy grant that MSDE was not able to fulfill its obligations because of the competitive nature of this grant. So it was awarded to them from the feds in November of 17, but we didn't receive the money until July of 18, and it's a 3-year grant. So when you take July 18's money, and put that on top of the money that we got in 19, it exceeded, and we spent all that money because it was grant money, it exceeded our appropriation authority. So what we're looking for now is just an appropriation authority to increase our grant budget by $300,000 to meet the expenditures that we already have incurred through the grant funding that we received from the state of Maryland.
Okay, I'll make a motion. I move to approve the additional appropriation request for restricted grant funding for the period of June 30th, 2019.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Have a great evening. You both.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioners, we have, to wrap things up, we have 3 budget amendments. The next one, item 8 on page 35, and Finance Director John Seaman's here if he wants to come up. Budget Amendment CC2, and this is these are all kind of cleanup from the adoption of the fiscal 20 budget. This one is to recognize the loss in revenue for the VFD, Volunteer Fire Department property tax credit, and transfer bridge funds over to support that.
Motion to approve CC2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
And Budget Amendment CC3 is an adjustment to a variety of capital projects that was done to balance the capital projects budget for the FY20 capital budget.
Motion to approve CC3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I thought we did this at the last meeting, didn't we? This portion of the cap?
No, not these specific projects. This is how you balance the budget over back in FY20.
Okay. All right. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of Amendment CC3 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Okay. And lastly, item 10 on page 38, CC4, and this is to recognize the increase in a tourism grant.
Motion to approve CC4?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. Very good, Jonathan.
Good job, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Way to drive it home.
Okay, moving along to presentations, we have Queen Anne's County Center for the Arts. I think there are folks who are here. Rick Strittmater, Board President Tom Helfenbein, and Board Vice President Bob Hammond. And Rick is our Executive Director of our Arts Council. Good evening. Gentlemen.
Wow. Good evening.
Good evening.
So, let's talk about the arts.
How would you like me to get started? Actually, I have a couple handouts here, 6 to be. And what these handouts basically show is it's a calendar of events, of things that we've done throughout the year. There's also a question of additional sources of funding, which is also listed on there as well. This funding is fairly formal in nature. We have other sources, but it's a softer in nature. On the second page, we address the new annex. Well, it's actually the old annex, but and the money that was given to us, the $25,000, and how it was earmarked. And I guess, you know, I'd be more than happy to. Oh, and also, I have a number of postcards. I can start these anywhere.
Yeah.
Oops. Things that we've done over the years in a bit more detail, and they can be passed around. And I am more than happy to answer any questions about the events, and the way that we do the events, the results, and the things that we're looking for within the community. And Bob Hammond is here to talk about the annex and the plans, if you have any questions about that, which I'm sure you probably do. And Tom, the president, is here to talk about the makeup of the board, the new board that we have. Our board is changing slowly, but it is changing.
Tom, you wanna start? You might as well start at the top. You have the board. You give us an overview of what, you know, what.
We're really proud of the board that we have. They're very, very involved, and this is very important for Queen Anne's County to provide the opportunity for the arts to be here in all its forms. There's hardly a thing that you touch in your daily life that doesn't involve the arts, whether it's watching television or the costumes that people wear, or the dance, or whether it's painting or drawing or whatever goes on. And we are very, very involved with startup programs to get people involved. And I think one of the best victory stories we have was Tammy Harper's daughter was up for a scholarship, and we awarded her a scholarship to pursue her design in the arts. And she went on to become a costume designer. And she came back to us and reported later on in the years how important it was for her to be encouraged to follow her dream of being involved in the arts. And sometimes it's difficult to get involved, whether it's a musician or whatever it is. So this little push or this little shove that we provide in giving scholarships or asking them to participate in different programs, we're very proud of what we do for Queen Anne's County. And our board is just one of the finest boards I have ever served on. And as you all know, sitting here, I've been involved in a lot of boards over the years. They are very, very good at what they do.
How long has the organization been around?
1977.
Really?
You know.
Yeah, very good.
And,
How long in the location that you're right at now, do you know?
I don't know, was it 77 we got in that location? I'm not sure.
99.
99.
That's when the first renovations, I think.
Well, just the few events that I've actually been involved in, that your organization has put on have always been first class. The high tea was a great event, and well attended. So you guys do it first class, that's for sure.
We have great people involved, and that's why there are such good events, believe me.
I think I've bought a painting almost every year.
You have indeed.
Yeah.
We do appreciate that.
Good stuff, very good stuff. So what would you like to?
I'd like to tell you a little bit about the progress we've made with the annex. You know, last year, end of July, we acquired we're calling the annex from the county, and we always are grateful for that. But in the last year, we've developed plans to renovate that building, and that involved getting a site survey, getting together with the planning staff of the town. We've got Michael Whitehill working with us, and we've come up with a plan to renovate that building, which will enable us to expand our operation. And plan does meet the code requirements right now. You may not know, but that building was a non-conforming use. And so finding a way to continue that non-conforming use has involved our discussions with the town. So that's all behind us. Now we are actually, we just put out an RFP for an architect to do a feasibility study and cost estimate. And we expect to be able to award a contract for that in September and have this study done by the 10th of December. So our goal is by the end of this year to have a schematic design for the renovations and cost estimate, as well as rendered drawings for fundraising purposes, because that's our next piece, is to, once we find out what it's going to cost, then start a fundraising campaign. And, so I think in the last year, we've done quite a bit to move this along, and the board of the Arts Council is all behind it, and we're looking forward to hopefully doing the renovations next year. It depends just how much these will cost, and we're taking a very modest approach to it, but I think in the long run we may end up having to phase pieces of it. But
if I might interrupt, sir, what,
Sure.
what utilization do you think the Arts Council might make of that when it?
Well, it's going to be the same kind of use that we have in the main building right now. There'll be, exhibitions. There'll be studios and storage space, office functions. So it'll just be an expansion of our present use.
Good.
Does anybody else have any questions for the Arts Council?
Do you want me to tell you a little bit about the new programs that
Okay.
we've done in
Please
the
do.
past 2 years?
Thank you.
Probably the first and foremost, I think the one that has sort of elicited the best response would be the Coffee House 206 concert series, where we've managed to bring in a lot of local and one or two national, artists to come in and play. And the idea behind the Coffee House series was to make these concerts affordable, where none of the tickets are above like $20, which really means that just about anybody can pay their mortgage and also go see a concert on a Saturday night. We've also started a lecture series, which we've had a lot of success with. We started an open mic series that's been in effect for about the last 3 months, and it's been very successful. We've had a lot of writers and musicians come in. Over the past 3 years, we've had I think, over 14, actually we've had over 16 exhibitions with artists, painters, sculptors, graphic designers, and whatnot, and along with the openings. So one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to make sure that the gallery always had art in it. There was always something hanging within the gallery, and we have done that. It is never sat empty, which has been great. Our classes are doing quite well. We've reinstated a lot of the dance classes that had kind of disappeared over the years, ballroom dancing. And Thursdays in the park, we definitely breathed some fresh air into that concert series. I know I've seen some of you there on Thursday nights.
Do you ever get any requests to move it, like up into Centerville? I know you're doing a lot of it on the island.
Do you know, we had last year, maybe it was 2 years ago, we had Del Fox, and they were going to play in the town. We've had Wheelhouse in Courthouse Square. We were going to have Del Fox, but it got rained out, so we definitely try to do that. And, you know, once the road work is complete, that will definitely be a priority. You know, I mean, it's a gorgeous town. There's no reason why we can't do that, you know. So, yeah. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming in and taking the time.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it. Appreciate your interest.
All right. Thank you all, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Well, I guess.
All right, Commissioners, that brings us to our legislative session.
Is there a time? Don't we have to? We're already past it.
We're past it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, 6 times. Okay, good.
Yeah, we're good.
Good. Okay.
Public hearing on County Ordinance 19-13, the prohibition of the release of non-biodegradable balloons within Queen Anne's County as set forth. And Patrick Thompson here is to chair the hearing. Patrick?
Thank you, Todd. On July 9, 2019, Commissioner Corchiarino introduced County Ordinance 1913, a bill entitled An Act Concerning the Prohibition of the Release of Non-Biodegradable Balloons within Queen Anne's County for the purpose of protecting the waters, animals, and overall environment of Queen Anne's County from the toxic impact of non-biodegradable balloons that are released within Queen Anne's County by criminalizing the willing release of non-biodegradable balloons, by adopting new section 1314 through 1316 of a new Article 4 of Chapter 13 of the Code of Public Local Laws of Queen Anne's County. This hearing is being held Tuesday, August 13, 2019 at 6:10 p.m. in the County Commissioner Meeting Room, Liberty Building, 107 North Liberty Street, Centerville, Maryland. Copies of the ordinance have been available at the County Commissioner's Office, 107 North Liberty Street, Centerville, during normal business hours and online on the county website. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each. Written testimony of any length may be submitted on before the hearing date to the County Commissioners at 107 North Liberty Street. All hearing sites are accessible to individuals with disabilities, sign language interpreters, and assistive listening devices are available. Part of the record of this proceeding will be a certificate of publication indicating that notice of tonight's hearing was published in the Queen Anne Record Observer and the Canal Bay Times, both newspapers of general circulation in Queen Anne's County, and there have been certain written comments received which will be made part of the record. With that, several people have signed up. Jay Falstad.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jay Falstad from Queen Anne's Conservation Association, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thanks also for bringing this issue to a hearing, and particular thanks to Commissioner Corchiarino for sponsoring this bill. Queen Anne's Conservation Association strongly supports Ordinance 1913 for a variety of reasons, but mainly because this is an environmental issue that I'm sure all of us have seen, but maybe not fully appreciated. As you talk to people, these balloons are everywhere. And unlike the balloons that we probably all released when we were little kids, because we all did it, the old vinyl balloons would oftentimes go up, and as soon as the sun hit them, they'd oftentimes pop. These balloons, the balloons of today, are made from Mylar. And right now there is no degradation schedule, biodegradable, with Mylar. This stuff will be here 500 years from now. It may lose a little bit of its color, but this material is going to be sticking around. As a result, the balloon itself and the ribbons get stuck in wildlife, and here in Queen Anne's County, balloons that are released are ending up in the Atlantic Ocean. Pat mentioned criminalizing, the word criminalizing. I just want to clarify what this bill really is. It's not meant to arrest the little kid who accidentally lets go of a balloon. It's also not meant to go after the hot air balloon associations that are releasing a trial balloon. This is mainly geared towards when people release massive amounts of balloons, like for a graduation or a wedding or something like that, hundreds and hundreds of them at a time. So the county doesn't need to be afraid if their little kid releases a balloon, or if a trial balloon needs to be released to monitor wind speeds and that sort of thing. You're not going to get thrown in jail. You're not going to get fined. This is specifically for large balloon releases. And right now it's pollution. And so with that, I know that there are other people that want to speak. We're strongly in support of it. I hope you will be also. And it's simply the right thing to do. So thank you very much for your time. Thanks for the consideration. And with that, I hope you'll support it.
Thank you.
Kristen Weed.
Kristen Weed, Stevensville, founder and president of Ken Island Beach Cleanups. I don't want to repeat everything that Jay said, but obviously I'm here to support this ordinance. I just brought some pictures from the cleanups that we host throughout Queen Anne's County, mostly on the Chesapeake Bay. And as you can see here, I have tallied up some of the balloon numbers that we've picked up. And this is not at all of our cleanups. This is just at the September cleanup that we do every year, the International Coastal Cleanup. And we don't have numbers for 2017. 2018, we don't have numbers because it was canceled due to the weather. And then obviously it's to be announced for this September. But the reason why I'm here is because we pick up so much garbage at these cleanups, and a lot of it is plastic. These balloons we do pick up at every cleanup. And not only that, with these mass balloon releases, there's so many other ways people can celebrate or memorialize a loved one without releasing tons of balloons that ultimately harm wildlife and our environment. And when you really think about it, it's deliberate pollution. So I just want you to think about that. A lot of these products claim to be biodegradable. They're not. You can't biodegrade, even though latex and rubber, they're natural, they often are chemicalized with different types of chemicals. So it's just something to think about as well. But hopefully you all vote yes in support of this bill.
Thank you. Mark McSkimmon.
Good evening. Mark McSkimming, Vice President of the Board of Directors of the Balloon Federation of America, Northeast Regional Director, and FAA Safety Counselor. Did you receive the letter from the Great Eastern Balloon Association?
Yes,
okay. I would like to, I don't want to rehash that, but expand a little more information for you. We are in support of the bill. We do not disagree with it. We would like to request an additional exception. In your wisdom, you did accept, make an exclusion for hot air balloons because they're able to be recovered, but not the devices we use for aviation safety. Being an FAA regulated aircraft, we are required by statute and regulation from the FAA, it is section 91.103, to obtain all the pertinent information for our flight prior to the flight. And that includes a weather briefing. We're required by law to have a weather briefing from an authorized source, either on the phone with a weather briefer or through a secure login site that we can document that indeed we get a weather briefing. The problem with the weather briefing is they're fixed wing minded and they look at the weather for a 100-mile radius. We're looking at only 10 miles radius. We take that information and we use a pieball. We don't use mylar, we don't use ribbons. And a pieball is simply a latex balloon, helium-filled balloon. They're not mass launches. There's probably 1 or 2 per flight. And we release those to get an idea what it's doing in a local area as far as wind speed and wind direction. As it was pointed out in the JIBA letter, it is in the FAA's handbook. It's not required by them, but it does lend itself to aviation safety, and that's why we're asking you to put not only the hot air balloons, but the pilot balloon or pieball releases. Because as it stands now, you heard previously they're not opposed to that, but as it stands now, the way the ordinance is listed, if we release a pieball, we're in violation of the ordinance.
How many hot air balloons launch from Queen Anne's County, do you know?
I do not. We have some local balloonists behind me that could probably answer that question.
Real quick, a question. This is federal law that you have to launch this?
No, it is not.
It's not required. So
it is
but it's an FAA safety.
It is required that we gather all the pertinent information pertaining to the flight we're about to conduct.
So you don't feel like it's covered under the fact that to abide by any state of Maryland, United States pursuant to any contracts or laws? Is that what you would like to see? Or got regulations? In other words, the way it reads now, it almost, to me, it covers it, but I mean, you may want another word in there to.
So Patrick, what would we have to do to, I think they raise a very valid point, so.
We can
just make
draft an amendment.
Just do an amendment to it.
Yeah.
Make an exception.
All right.
Pat, in his letter, he made a suggestion on what he'd like to see as an amendment.
So can I just move right now that we incorporate
Let's
that changes it?
It's got to be in writing.
Okay.
The amendment does, so.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Tim Trumbauer.
Good evening. I'm Tim Trumbauer, the Chester Riverkeeper with Joy Rivers, and I'm here representing our waterways and also our 3,500 members. So I don't have much more to add than what's already been said. We are in support of this ordinance. I am very lucky. I get to spend a lot of time out on our waterways, and I can say that mylar balloons are the most common form of pollution and trash that I pick out of our rivers. It's not a day goes by that I'm on the water that I'm not picking out multiple mylar balloons. So I refer you to the comments that I submitted in writing, and I want to thank Commissioner Corcarino for introducing this ordinance and urge you to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks. Ron Broderick.
Hi, I'm a local Maryland pilot from Howard County, Ron Broderick, and I just want to add a couple comments to, I agree with everything that's been said so far. And just to add to the incentive, this is the basic size of the balloon that we blow up to maybe about 12 inches with helium, and we let it go with each flight. We just had our Cordova Balloon Festival the weekend before last. We had 5 flights. We do 1 balloon per flight, and there are only a few pilots in Maryland. There's one in Queen Anne's County, so we're few and far between. But just to add to the incentive of when this came to light a couple weeks ago, one of your agencies contacted me. They were inquiring about, for economic development, to have a balloon festival over here. So it's interesting how it all came about, and we're saying, gee, with this, I don't know, there'll never be a balloon in Queen Anne's County if this is allowed to proceed. But I just want to say thank you for your consideration, and we are dealing with an aircraft, federal aviation aircraft, so thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Shelley.
I'm sorry, I'm not been
in her place. She's my colleague here. So I will jump up and good evening, commissioners. And thank you for allowing us to testify. We're delighted that this hearing is taking place. My name is Bennett, and I'm the founder of Plastic Free QAC, a nonprofit organization originated in Grasonville that is concerned with single-use plastics. And I'd like the record to show that Plastic Free QAC is in strong support of this legislation, this ordinance 19-13, that prohibits balloon releases of non-biodegradable balloons. There's no question that my law and also the so-called biodegradable latex balloons, while festive to go up, come down as ugly litter. And it hurts countless animals. And the organization Balloons Blow, according to them, they travel thousands of miles and pollute the most remote and pristine places, as well as cause unwelcome power outages in populated areas. Some balloons are marketed as biodegradable. However, they take months and sometimes years to degrade, as Jay so well demonstrated. And Kristen Weed as well has shown us many wonderful photos about the terrible pollution of these balloons. So my colleague, Sarah Shelley, who somehow was listed as a witness, was recently on an osprey nest watching boat trip in the Grasonville, Kent narrow area. She not only saw evidence of balloons in our local waters, but also observed how the ribbons and other plastic debris can be used by ospreys to decorate their nest. They like it to be a little colorful. Unfortunately, an osprey chick can easily get entangled in such strings and die as a result. Balloons and their strings have no place in our natural environment. My husband is a private pilot and also with a CAP, a Civil Air Patrol volunteer. But over the years, we have taken many trips in single-engine airplanes. And you never forget the times when you encounter one of these balloons in your airspace. I mean, I don't think it hurts the airplane, but it certainly gives a shock to your system when all of a sudden you see one of these balloons. My husband and I have sailed the seas for many years before we settled in Grasonville, and we always hated to see these balloons floating in the ocean. They just don't belong there, and you know that they're going to hurt animals. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and I sure hope you will pass this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
There were a couple other people from Plastic Free. Did you all want those? Okay. John Shaw.
Oh, good evening, everyone. My name is John Shaw. I have a farm just along the road on 213. We grow crops. We're 467 acres, a lot of open fields and hedgerows, but additionally I have horses. One of the big issues that I have is that I encounter balloons blowing across our fields on a regular basis, especially in winter when the crops aren't quite so large. But in the winter, I encounter them all the time. Occasionally they blow into the horse pastures and it spooks the horses, and touch wood, I haven't had any horses injured as a result. But when this issue came to light, when Jay brought it up, I mentioned it on just social media to some of my horse friends, and the reaction was, let's say, vigorous, because these sparkly and shiny balloons really do scare horses. In addition to that, I ride around the farm in the winter, and I've trained my horses not to be afraid of them, and I pick them up and I stuff my pockets with them, literally. We get so many. If I go to the hedgerows, they're great for catching balloons, and I can walk down the hedgerows. And I'm a very keen deer hunter and turkey hunter, and half of the time I go, I have to walk along the hedgerow and see if there are going to be balloons that are going to spook the deer as well, because they do. So it's an issue, and I really hope you will support this program.
Thank you.
Michelle, is it O'Brien?
Hello, everybody. My name is Michelle O'Brien. I'm a resident of Queenstown. And first of all, I sincerely apologize to walking in on the meeting and expressing my dismay over the Bennett Point Road topic, because I am resident of Zone C, so I'll be back to talk about that. So my apologies to everybody for making a little bit of a spectacle of myself. It's not the first time. So, what I'd like to say now, though, is like most people, I never gave thought to balloons until about 8 years ago when I read an article about the consequences of the balloons that end up in the oceans. This education enlightened me, and I started noticing them everywhere. It's like when you buy the red car, you see all the red cars. I saw them in the trees, I saw them in the marshlands, I saw them in the swales. I'm out on the water a lot. At that time, I was the character counts coach at Grasonville Elementary School, as well as Girl Scout leader. So I took that opportunity to educate my character counts kids, as well as my Girl Scouts, on our responsibility to the environment, and how a simple, these acts of balloon releases and even water balloon fights can harm birds who think that they're bits of food, feed it to their babies. I believe that local grief support groups and charities also need education to realize that honoring lives with balloon releases may result in the suffering and death of another life, and education is the key to just let people know that there's a different way. I know that many local people, you can just see it on social media, they think this issue is worthless. It's, we have so many other things to worry about, the opioid crisis and our traffic problems and our growth and our education, and I agree with all of that, but prohibiting a balloon release does not require a permit, a budget adjustment, a loss of a job, a health hazard to anyone, nor an appointed board of directors. It's a simple piece of legislation that has profound impact on our beautiful Chesapeake Bay and beyond, and I hope you all will pass the ordinance. Thanks.
Is there anyone else who didn't sign up who would like to testify on County Ordinance 1913?
Got one in the back.
Oop.
My name is Matthew Hodgson. I'm a private hot air balloon pilot. I'm from Central Maryland. Our festival last weekend down here consisted of about 22 hot air balloons. Also, I'm an avid birder, so we totally agree with the fact that these balloons are damaging the environment, but we do still feel that there needs to be an exception. At the balloon festival, we would only release about 1 to 2 because all the pilots are around, so we do not have to do masses like it may be considered because there's so many pilots. We just need to see. It's about 1 or 2. Some people suggested maybe we put on a string, but we need this balloon to go to at least 2,000 feet so we can see the wind direction, so we can stay out of the airspaces that we need to be out of. Because as people know, weathermen aren't always right. And forecasts, no matter how accurate, are never what it is actual, especially since your reporting station may be 10, 15 miles away from where we're going to launch. So we ask that you please put an exemption in for hot air balloons and also support the bill so that way we can protect the environment. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
So we're going to close public comment. And I guess from here, what we need is the amendment written. So we'll hold this till the next meeting.
Right.
And we can introduce and vote on the amendment and the bill at the next meeting.
Right, all at the same time. Okay. Good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. All right, Commissioners, we have County Ordinance 19-12, County Transfer Tax, which is available to be voted on this evening if you would like to do that. This was just a ordinance to clarify county transfer tax on a sale to first-time Maryland home buyers that they can be paid in accordance with express interest.
19-12, correct?
19-12.
Just need a motion on that to vote for it? So I move that we vote on County Ordinance 19-12.
I'll second that. Is there any discussion on 19-12? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Okay. That brings us to our second press and public comments period. So thank you for taking the time to express your views to the County Commissioners during this public comment period. Comments are limited to 3 minutes in length. Comments longer than 3 minutes should be submitted in writing. When you come forward, please speak clearly in the microphone. State your name, address, and topic of interest. Keeping with the dignity of the office, we ask that all views be expressed in a respectful and civil manner. The Commission respects your desire and right to convey your message freely. We ask, as a courtesy to the Board and our citizens, that you respect the Commissioner's request and refrain from naming citizens and name-calling when offering any critique. Anybody sign up?
No one signed up. Because he signed it.
All right. So we had nobody sign up, but anybody like to speak? Seeing none, we'll close press and public comment. We'll go right to roundtable, and we'll start with Commissioner Wilson. Why not?
We could start the Wilson
Start
on
number
one.
Next meeting.
All right. So I guess, first off, I guess I'd like to wish everybody happy Fair Week. I hope everybody gets an opportunity to get out. It looks like we dodged the thunderstorms tonight, so I'm assuming everybody probably got out because I believe it's crab cake night, and that's always a popular one. Yep. Secondly, to touch on what Linda Friday had spoke about way back in the beginning of the meeting, the Project Bright Future. We actually, as part of our meeting with the Board of Ed today, we got their endorsement that they're going to move forward with helping us to get the word out when the time is right. We'll be starting a marketing campaign for the counties interested in the 5-county region in about 2 weeks. You'll see it on Facebook. You'll see it just about every social media source. You'll see it, even see it on your local TV station. We're really going to push this out. We want to fill the Todd Performing Arts Center up. We have 900 seat capacity, and we plan on filling it so we can educate this region on the need for increased CTE programs. A region-wide approach will allow us to offer more programs, and I think we owe it to our kids and our future, because someday these people, the kids that are in school now, are going to be sitting in these chairs, and we got to hope that we send them down a good path to be able to sit up here and do the job. Last thing is, so tomorrow, the commissioners, the rest of this week, will be attending the MACO conference in Ocean City. I dare say that probably the biggest conversation is going to be around education and the upcoming Kerwin stuff that's going to happen in the next legislative session. I've already put 3 different ones on my calendar for this week that are going to be looking at a lot of this stuff. And if you get to follow this, it's really going to heat up probably around November, December. It's going to be something interesting to watch, because I think it's going to be something that you really haven't seen around the country anywhere. While I love the idea of making world-class education a priority here in the state of Maryland, what I don't want to see is us tax our citizens out of the state of Maryland in the name of education. And this bill really has that ability over the 10-year period with a $4 billion plus price tag to do that. And $4 billion in the grand scheme of things doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it's 10% of the existing state budget right now. So if you think, put that into small county like Queen Anne's County, that's going to be a big hit for us. And when you get into that and it's mandated and there's large chunks of money, it really makes the commissioners have to sit up here and do one of 2 things. You're going to cut services or you're going to raise taxes. And it's going to be something that we're going to be put in a difficult situation if this goes through in the form it's in right now. So please, don't listen to what you hear on social media. Read real news about it and keep informed on it, because we have 7,700 students in this county that will some way, shape, or form be affected by what's going to happen over the next couple of years. So that's all I got.
Mr. Wilson, the senior.
Sir, gentlemen, well, I want to amplify just exactly what Jack said, that there are counties that give more than they take, and there are counties that take more than they give, and we're one that gives more than it receives, but the vote often goes the other way. And that I can't help but hope that the public is aware of the consequences of some of these moves that the state makes. Item number 2 for me is that we were treated to Commissioner Newman and myself to ride with first responders, and just to show what a I don't know what this, how to exactly to frame this, but the sort of unexpected circumstances that can come up. Within 10 seconds of getting to the emergency services building, we had a call for a chest pain, which when we got there turned out to be a gentleman who had drunk 2 glasses of antifreeze and was now at the jetty having a drink just to wash it down, and that was just about, and our crews were able to stabilize him and get him alive back over to Anne Arundel, and we have a terrific first responder, both sheriff's deputies, emergency services. We are a good county, so just want to remark on it.
Excellent.
So in detail, Commissioner Wilson is referencing the Ask a Commissioner segments that we have started, that Jack and Commissioner President Jim Moran had started back at Hemingway's for our first taping of the segment. This was an idea that Commissioner Wilson came up with to bring attention to our Department of Emergency Services and what they accomplish and what they do, and then also our Sheriff's Office. So I would encourage anybody who has Atlantic Broadband and can see QAC Channel 7 to check it out, and or on YouTube when it hits YouTube, because this segment's going to be long enough to qualify for a YouTube video. So I would strongly, even my fellow commissioners, to check it out and see how it's done.
When is that going to be on?
At this point, I don't know when they're going to air it. They've got to edit it because we just finished taping it today.
Okay.
So, but it's going to be a great segment. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I attended the DSAC meeting. I have to be honest, I missed the first one. And the DSAC is an acronym for Department's Emergency Services Advisory Commission, and it's a committee made up of citizens and representatives from law enforcement, the volunteer fire services, and of course our Department of Emergency Services. So I sat on that DSAC commission when I was a commissioner back in 2011 to 2014, so it was great to be back and seeing the gang and the advancements that they've made in technology back and how it's aided our first responders and taking care of our citizens. So I'm pretty excited about attending the next one. I had an opportunity to work closely with one of our new senior planners, Amy Mordock, and of course our director, Mike Woznoski. We put together a little Q&A session for the citizens that live in Grasonville on Main Street on the zoning, the existing zonings that we have in Grasonville, Main Street, and the usages in those zonings. And ironically, the timing of this Q&A session that we did corresponds with the updating of our comprehensive plan, and then also, of course, the section of that plan which affects Grasonville. And I had an opportunity back in 2010 during the updating of the Grasonville plan to be part of that task force. So it's exciting to see the folks that showed interest, and we'll be looking forward to their feedback as we move forward on that plan. And last, I want to thank my fellow commissioners for keeping me updated on what was happening in our county in the month of July, and also our county administrator Todd Mohn for the frequent phone conversations that we had in my absence that I was away, and of course county staff as well. So I felt like even though I wasn't physically here, I was able to keep track of what was going on back here at home while I was away. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Very good.
That's all I have.
Is there time left?
Yeah, we got a little bit.
Very funny.
We got a little bit left.
There's some crab cakes left for you. Don't worry.
I just want to thank everybody who came out to speak in favor of the ordinance today. For those who are worried about it, we've taken off the drone squad for the Sheriff's Department to hunt down the balloons. That part's out of the bill, so relax. It's for the good. That's it.
That's it. Okay. Well, I'm going to be that broken record and talk about our traffic woes and what is probably going to be coming up this fall with the construction on the bridge. So if you got a heartbeat, you're going to run into these backups. So, at our next meeting, we have the director of the Transit Authority, the Bridge Authority, Secretary Ports will be here at our next meeting. And he's going to be here to brief us on what's going on the bridge. He's going to have his chief bridge engineer to discuss why the work has to go on the bridge, and his chief traffic consultant, who has said that 3-mile backups are going to be an everyday occurrence with what's coming on this bridge. And today we met with the Board of Education to talk about this, and there's a tabletop exercise coming up next week, I believe it is. August 29th, to discuss this, because a lot of people, anybody that travels the bridge and goes back and forth knows that when contraflow is in play, westbound traffic starts to back up sometime around 2 o'clock. And depending on how much the traffic that is, and remember, contraflow will be gone, so there will only be 2 lanes east, 2 lanes westbound. That traffic's going to back up to Castle Marina, I would venture to say, before 2:30 in the afternoon. And when it does that, everybody that lives here knows, or thinks they know, that they can get around the traffic and go through Route 18. And just imagine all the school buses from 5 different schools or 6 different schools within a 3-mile radius. They're going to put kids out onto the streets. And it's a major concern, because those buses make those runs, drop those kids off, and then they go to another school at a timing. So it's all a timing issue, and it's a dance. And, take into account now, you've got parents that are going to be in a 5-mile backup trying to get home. Their kids are going to be home, and they're going to be struggling. So, what we've decided to do is put out a survey that we're working on right now, one, to go to all the businesses. We want to know how this, and we have 2 different issues here, the beach traffic is affecting our businesses, and then the second part was going to be how this construction on the bridge for 2 years is going to affect our businesses. And anybody that wants to chime in, be it a stay-at-home mom, whatever the case may be, we need to start building our database on how this is affecting the citizens of Queen Anne's County, because the state will listen to numbers. We can talk to we're blue in the face, and we intend to do that this coming week at MACO, where we're going to be meeting with Secretary Ron and other secretaries about our bridge problems and about what can be done in the meantime until a new bridge is built. So, we're going to start collecting that information, and you can email it to me at the county website so that we can start compiling this and then be passing this on to the state and inundating them with this kind of information. We need to start pushing that more, because, again, we all know that the only solution is another bridge, but nobody knows when that's going to happen. And I think we can push that hand to get that kind of response. So that's all I have for right now.
Did you mention a business survey, Jim?
Excuse me?
The business survey is part of that too?
Yes, the business survey is the big part about that. So that's all I have for now, and I guess it's time to go to the fair, and I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.